You know, your network connections, the pages you visit, the files you download. You should be thinking about these all the time. Welcome to And Security for All. Your host is Kim Hakim. We're here to help you understand, in general terms, how and why your cybersecurity should be kept in check. Now, here is Kim Hakim.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of And Security for All. I'm Kim Hakim, your host. And if this is your first time joining us, thanks for being here. And if you are back, welcome back. I want to remind everyone that you can catch any of our past episodes of And Security on and all at your favorite place wherever you listen to your podcasts. I hope everyone is ready for the weekend. I am here in the Midwest and I'm trying to, we're all trying to dig ourselves out of this huge snowstorm we've gotten. I have a long driveway, so I've been spending this morning, all day yesterday, trying to shovel and get our cars out of the driveway. So anyone out there, if I haven't answered your emails, I will answer them. I've been trying to deal with this snowstorm. So it's kind of funny. My neighbors, they live across the street, and last summer I saw them putting something in, and they were putting in a heated driveway. And I thought, that is really over the top. We live in St. Louis. We don't live in Colorado. We don't live in Utah. Kind of a little much for St. Louis, but I am very jealous of them right now. It's crazy times. You know, it's hard to find anyone that wants to come plow your driveway. When I was a kid, we used to go knocking on doors and trying to shovel people's driveway to make money, me and my brothers. I never, ever have anyone knocking on my door doing that. So my guest today, he'll have much to say about that, being he works with a younger generation and works with all of our upcoming leaders. Today, my guest is Jonathan Kimmitt. He's the Chief Information Security Officer at the University of Tulsa. He's the leader in information security across academic sectors. He's developed and accomplished careers driving strategy, management, business transformation, technical migrations, IT data security, disaster recovery. He's been successful in combining hands-on expertise in information security management, cybersecurity, to ensure an optimal performance in critical enterprise environments. So today, let me just welcome Jonathan, and we can just dive into what he's doing. And thanks for being here, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, we were talking pre-show that you're in Tulsa, obviously, and you guys have had a bit of a snowstorm yourself.
Yeah, we have. We started Wednesday night, really kind of hit us. So we've had snow days last couple of days for the university. And last night we got a good amount of snow on top of all the sleet and everything that hit us. So we've got, I don't know the actual numbers. I know that it was probably somewhere between 7 inches and 2 foot of snow out of my yard this morning when I was out there shoveling it off the driveway. So there was a good amount of snow and snow drifts.
Is that typical? I kind of always look at Tulsa like maybe Nashville. My brother lives in Nashville, that once in a while they'll get something crazy like that. Or is that typical?
Yeah, we get ice more than anything down here. So it'll get cold enough to, the rain will freeze. It'll freeze overnight, especially on bridges and overpasses. Every couple of years, we get a good snowfall. My kids probably have seen, less than a handful of where they could go out and we could sled and we could make snowmen. In fact, this year is the first time they've been old enough really and we've had snow that they can build a real snowman with a real, carrot as a nose. And, it's, 4 foot tall. So they've never been able to do that before. All the other snows have been much, less snow. And so, yeah, we get it every couple of years. We'll get a good snowfall.
Yeah, this is a good one. I think we got what you got. But isn't it so true? It's like I'm out there shoveling my driveway and, I haven't been able to get out to go to the gym, so I don't mind it. It's good to get out of your house, get some fresh air. It's once you have music in and you're, I kind of like it. But where are those kids, that used to, when we were growing up, that's how we made money in the wintertime.
Oh yeah, I agree. In fact, I had threatened that my kids were going to be doing the snow shoveling this year, and I probably should have made them do it just to get that first experience in, and I didn't. I went out there because you're right. It's great. It's great exercise, and and I spent about 2 hours today, and I'm going to be sore tomorrow, but it felt good. You get that coat off once you start getting heated up, and you just have a good time with it.
Well, yeah, it's going to be here for a few days, so it is exciting that it is good snow. So we should hopefully see a few snowmen around the neighborhood.
Right.
But so let's kind of shift over to, you've really been a big supporter of FutureCon. For those of you that don't know it, I also am the CEO of FutureCon events. We host cybersecurity conferences all over North America, and since COVID, we do a lot of virtual events. And Jonathan has sat on many of my CISO panels. He drove to Dallas for us and sat on a panel, our very first live event back in August. So what is going on in your world besides being as busy as ever? And we're going to dive into everything that you're doing. But why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got where you are, how you climbed the ladder to be a CISO, and how you ended up at the University of Tulsa?
Oh God, that's a lot of pieces there. I grew up here in Northeast Oklahoma. I went to school at the University of Tulsa, and I graduated with a business management degree with a specialization of business law. I left for a time and came back. I came back temporarily. I came back to visit a few people on campus, and they says, "Hey, we need someone to watch the help desk, for a couple of months while we find a full-time person." And I had a little bit of experience on the management side and the technical side, so I did that. And a few months went by, and they still had me, and they asked me to be more or less full time. So I kind of got suckered into a help desk job for many years, and I had a great time. It was a lot of fun, and my team at the time was students. I hired a whole bunch of students. That was all the help desk was at the time. This was back in the early 2000s, and we went through some hard times. We call those the dark days of the internet, because every fall when students came back, we had viruses and we had worms and everything hitting campus. It was rough. This was before Windows XP actually turned on the firewall by default, and so we had a lot of machines get infected. So I did that for a few years, and at one point, I think it was around 2004, I was invited to get onto the computer security response team here on campus. We had a security response team that went and did, whether it be an investigation or it would be a compromised machine or a network issue or something, we would go out and take care of that. And they needed somebody from the desktop side, someone from the help desk. So I joined the team, did that for several years, and through kind of attrition as people left, I became the lead for the team. And all the while, I was kind of working up through the ranks as the help desk side, as chief services officer. I eventually got to chief services officer. And the university, we back about 8 years ago now, we created the Office of IT Security here on campus, and they tapped me to be the chief's information security officer. So I was the first one at the university. And as I've often said, that was the last time I slept well. So I took over I created the role. I created the department. I created the role, and have been there ever since. Now, coming from services and having a background in computer security response, I didn't have a clue, honestly. It's just the reality. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And so I dove in. I dove into the professional groups. I dove into InfraGard. I dove into conferences. I dove into, every bit of learning I could do, whether it be the trainings or, getting online and doing live events. And it wasn't live events at the time. It was YouTube, things. So I just kind of started getting as much as I could. I had to get up to speed very quickly. I don't advise people do it that way. But I didn't know any better. The university at the time didn't know any better. We were just trying to, stay afloat on a lot of things in terms of computer security. So that's kind of my start. Really, I became a just an empty cup for anything I could get, whether it be, like I said, trainings or conferences, or, anywhere that I could meet someone, learn something from them, or even teach someone. There was things that I was doing that was kind of unique. Mostly because I didn't know any better, but they turned out really well. And one of the things is Raspberry Pis. In the beginning, I didn't have a budget, so I deployed a lot of Raspberry Pis on campus and used those as my sensors and various things on campus. And I still do that. In fact, I have one behind me here that I'm working on for a particular piece of our student SOC, which we'll get into later. So starting to do those sorts of things. And after I got my feet wet on this, and I've been doing it for a few years, someone asked me to do a presentation at a local conference, and being an introvert, that normal IT background, I was real hesitant to do it, but I knew it was something that I had some knowledge that I wanted to share. I wanted to give out back to the industry, back to the community. So I did it, and I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with the audience. I had a lot of fun talking with people, after the event. I had a lot of people come up and ask questions, and that kind of got that hook in me. I know a couple of years ago, if I remember right, I did 80 different speaking engagements throughout the year. Last year, I probably did 60 or so. I keep little calendars of my speaking events so I can keep track of them. And I know I did 30 in the month of October, not last year, but before. That was a heck of a month, trying to do speaking events, trying to do all the other things that we were doing, plus do the CISO role. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you're such a role model. I mean, I don't even know how. Anytime I ask you to speak, you never once have said no. And I read a lot, or I just like on LinkedIn posts. There was a woman, I wish I could think of her name, and she had just posted her, she just got her CISSP, and she was like, people told me no, I couldn't do it, but it just, I went out there, and you have to be persistent and just do what you're doing. You're such a great role model. It doesn't mean you get that much sleep. No, probably not. You're like me, I have my hands in a lot of different things, yep. But it's fun once you perfect, like the show. I mean, when they asked me to do the show, this was the last thing, and I still mess up all the time. I'm not a radio host, but I love the opportunity to talk to people like you. So it's taking the chance and doing the things that just help you become more driven. What a great role model for all those students that you're mentoring.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've really tried to get across, at ISSA and the people here at the university, including my team, the security analysts that work for me. When we start doing those things, and we really start getting out there and start being involved in that community, in that industry, I'll tell you, I have learned so much. I remember the very first B-sides I went to, here, in Oklahoma. And I remember the individual speakers, what they were talking about. And it's like, I'm not doing that. I need to go do that. And I turned around and I went and did it at the university. And that was one of the things that really caught me. And that's really why I get a lot of value out of those, conferences and those engagements. When I started teaching, I'll tell you, the very first keynote I did years and years ago, I did it, and it was a martial arts thing. I was combining martial arts and cybersecurity, and I was having a good time with it. And after the speaking engagement, I walked off stage, and of course it ended, and everyone was going to the next presentation. And one of the people came back up to me, and they came up and they shook my hand. They said, "Hey, that was great presentations." The normal things they talk about. But this person came up, she said, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you." I was like, "Oh, I'm glad you like the presentation." He goes, No. Thank you for what you do at the University of Tulsa." I just kind of looked at him. I wasn't quite sure what he meant. He says, "My daughter goes there. And, from what you've said and what you try to do here, based on this presentation, I'm really glad that you're there protecting her data and protecting her network and protecting her computers." And that was really important to me. That felt, you don't get a lot of gratitude as a CISO. Usually people are yelling at you, but to have just kind of a random person come up and say those things, it felt really good. So that really that made me feel good in terms of we were doing the right things. We were protecting people, we were protecting our systems, and protecting our computers. And that's kind of been the my tagline throughout everything that I've done is we're here to protect people. And when I do my teaching, or I'm speaking at conferences, or even on panels, it's that same thing. I think that as an industry, as we move forward, it becomes more and more important that we understand that we're actually protecting people, not just computers. And when we think in that way, it changes the thought process a little bit. It changes that importance a little bit. So anybody I interact with, I try to I try to make them think that way, that a little bit differently. It's not just we're going to code this piece of program, or we're going to build this application. It's no, we're doing all this to protect people, and it does put a different emphasis on it.
So let's just take a few minutes and welcome some of our vocal listeners, like our friend Rachel Arnold, the Human API. I know she's a big fan of yours, and you guys are friends. Thanks for tuning in, Rachel. Jonathan's actually has agreed. I had asked you, but you're a little busy. He agreed to co-host some of my shows for me when I'm traveling. So Rachel would be a great person to have. You and her should do a show together.
I would love that. Hint, hint, Rachel. No,
Yeah.
Rachel's great. She is. I think I said it once. She's my hero. She's the person that I look up to when we're doing a lot of things, because she's great. She's a great asset. She was a great asset, when I first met her, and she's a good friend now.
Well, and then we have Leah McLean, if I'm saying that right. Welcome. Thanks for being here, Leah. And Whitney, thanks for being here. And Rachel she just said, I don't know what she said. It's not, well, you tell me what that means to you. Oh, she said, that's awesome. I think that's a yes, that she'll be on the show with you anyway.
Well, we're going to take it like that, because,
that's how
absolutely.
We're anyway. So, well, let's go talk about what you're doing right now, what you're doing with the students, and what you're building, the operations center that you're building at the school. And tell us a little bit about that, and what your goal for that is, and how you're getting these students input, how you're getting them engaged.
Well, yeah, this is something I've been trying to do for a couple of years now. And our friend Rachel, she's the one that really kind of spurred me to take those next steps. And what it is I need help. Honestly, that's kind of where it started as. And I told you before that when I was running the help desk, I had, anywhere from 15 to 30 students who worked for me, and they were my technicians. They were the ones who worked on computers. I trusted them to do anything on the computer side that we needed to do, whether it was on the domain, whether it was, working on the president's machines. And so I've got, to this day, some really great friends that, I worked with all those years ago. And those experiences have really led me into, knowing the value of using those students in operations. And so when I decided to create the student SOC, the Security Operations Center, I really wanted to make sure that I was providing as much to the students as they were providing me. I kind of reached back, and I reached out to a lot of people that I knew here in the industry, either here in Oklahoma or actually across the U.S. People like Rachel, people like Will, a lot of people that have done these sorts of things where they're really providing a lot of benefit to the students. And one of the things that I found was a lot of people were utilizing students in SOCs. There's a couple of universities here in Oklahoma that do have students in the SOC, but they're still kind of in that test phase. They're kind of there, but they're not. And that was one thing that I didn't have the luxury to do. I need the students in a full-blown SOC. So we have a new undergrad cybersecurity program here at the university, brand new. This is, I think, the very first semester that they're having most of those classes for the program. And the faculty members reached out to me when they found out I was doing the SOC, and they basically says, "Hey, we want part of this. You tell us what you need on these students. we'll teach it in the classes, and then they can come and work for you in the SOC to get hands-on experience. And that was that light bulb, moment. It's like, that's what we need to do. And so what I'm doing is I'm hiring 5 students this semester, and we're building a SOC. We're building a physical SOC, but only because we need to have a place to, to have that set up in that war room. But to do to do all the other pieces, it's going to be a lot of the tools that we have using on our enterprise. One of the interesting things about our network is we're one of the bigger networks in Oklahoma. When we're talking about the size of network, the amount of devices, we have a lot. 60 some odd thousand devices on our network, and only about 30% of them are actually managed by the university. The other 70% are managed by the students. So we have a lot of bring your own devices. We have a lot of traffic. We have a lot of, pipe on the network. So we have a lot of things that's, kind of unique. And, as it relates, we're never going to be the size of a Quick Trip or a Phillips or any of the big companies here in Oklahoma, but we're still one of the biggest in Oklahoma in terms of devices. And that really presents a unique problem. Because you talk to some of these big organizations, they might have 30, 40, 50 IT people, 30, 40, 50 IT security people, and we don't have that. So my thought is I want to start off with 5, but I'm going to get up to 20 students by next spring. So I'm going to do 5, 5, 5, and 5. Every year or every semester, spring, summer, and fall, I'm going to hire an additional 5 students. And there's going to be, some, people graduating and such. So there's going to be a nice flow. But I want to bring them in, and I want to do some very specific things with them. Number one, I want to train them on the tools that we're using. So we've got a variety of tools that we currently use. And I want them to get hands-on with it. They're going to go through maybe a week-long training on something, but then they're going to have deliverables. These aren't student workers. These aren't, work study students, where they come in and they make copies and they make coffee for people. No, they're going to come in and get trained. And then, they're going to have deliverables every day and every week that they provide information back to defend the university, with the things that we're doing. And each week I'm going to provide, teach them on a different tool, at least for the first semester. Of course, everything will change, after we get some experienced people in. But one of the other benefits I think that I can provide, that I really want to do, is I'm going to bring in industry to them. I'm president of ISSA. I'm also a board member with InfraGard. I've got a lot of people that I interact with on a regular basis. And when I've told people about this program, what I'm going to do with it, they get really, really excited because they want students who graduate that have hands-on experience. We all kind of make that joke of, hey, we need to have an entry-level person, 5 years experience, CISSP, entry level. And we all kind of laugh that, there are job descriptions out there. But I started thinking about it. If I could give students 2 years hands-on experience with enterprise tools, when they go out for that entry-level job out in the industry, but they put on their resume that they do have 2 years experience, they've got experience with Microsoft, they've got experience with Nessus, they've got experience with, you name your tools. Hopefully that will help them just have that resume just a little bit better than the next person, and it gives them an opportunity to really shine. So I've talked to industry leaders. I intend every month that, for the people who work in the SOC, every month I'm going to bring in people. And I'm going to bring, I have asked some friends from the FBI. I've asked some friends from the Secret Service. I asked friends from law firms. I asked, I've got people all over. I've got forensics firms that are going to come in for 2 hours and talk to the students, tell them what they're looking for, network with them. Maybe these are students that they may hire later. When I've told this to the industry, to the industry people, no, they got so excited. They was like, absolutely, we want to be part of this. We want to meet these students. We'll come in and we'll do some training with them. I've got a pen tester friend that I'm going to ask to come in and just to show them how to pen test. Not necessarily the individual tools. We'll get that in the class, but show them what real life is all about. We've got a university campus. Let's have some fun with it. Let's go play with breaking into doors and getting into, the server rooms and, doing these various things. Now, one of the things that I'm going to have them do at the SOC is they're going to learn all these tools, but I also want them to learn the real life stuff. What is an incident? How do you handle incidents? How you do incident response, how you do evidence collection, how you do custody tracking, how do you talk to police officers? How do you talk to the legal side, lawyers? I want them to get exposed to that, because I don't want them to be surprised when they get out in the industry, when they get out into their first jobs and they're starting on their career, and they go, "Oh, you mean I have to talk to a board? I have to talk to a lawyer. I have to talk to a police officer." I want them to be, yeah, I did that. Maybe they did it once or twice, but it's still experience. It's still an opportunity for them to grow. And I think as I look back over my background and what I've done, I had a lot of people help me. A lot of people who provided me, whether it be support or information or training or teaching or just, you know, good job, Jonathan. Those are the things that were really important to me. And I want to give back. I want to give back to the next generation of IT security leaders. And this is an opportunity to do that. And we've got some great students. I actually interviewed, I think 12 people last week and this week. We've got some really strong candidates. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to get them in. Some of them are really experienced. Some of them have really got the good drive. They're going to learn. They're going to be great. And I'm really excited to see what they do, here at the SOC, but also out in the world. That's the most exciting thing is seeing people grow. I've been doing martial arts for a very long time, and there is something down deep that is really powerful when you're watching someone that you've been working with and they break their first board, or they do great on their test, or those are some things that it's really important and it's really valuable. I'm really excited to do this, and I think it'll be a huge benefit for not only the students at the university but also the community, the IT security community, the IT security industry.
So, how are the students? How receptive are they? Because this means that they're going to have to put a lot of extra time into what they're doing, right? Because this is
They
above and beyond their classes, right?
They are excited. In fact, the first couple of people that I talked to, I asked them right off the bat, do you have any questions for me? And they said, no, no, we don't. You're kind of your typical first interview that you do for students. But after I explained to them what I'm wanting, that I want them to be doing threat hunting and pen testing and forensics and evidence collection and doing reports and doing compliance and doing privacy, they got really excited. I mean, they came back at the end. And I said, okay, well, because one of the questions I ask every single applicant is, what do you want to take from this job? What is it you want to take and move forward with? And it's like, listen, this is great. This is not like any other job on campus. This is something where we actually do real stuff. It's not just, again, sitting at a desk somewhere, or watching a front desk, or making copies for a department. They're protecting our network. So they're really excited. And I, one of the things that I found out a long time ago when I had students that came in to work for me is they'll work. I had students, unfortunately, that would skip class to come work. And of course, I got onto them when I found out they did that. But they like the work. That's one of the interesting things that I have found over the years is a lot of times you'll get students in. Now, you'll always find a student that doesn't want to do that, but I've always had great students, and they come in, they want to work, they work extra hours. And every student that I talked to said, hey, what happens if we go remote again because of COVID? It's like, we're remote friendly here. All of our tools are on the web. You'll be able to get into them. I've got a laptop for you. You'll be able to get into our systems and be able to do the job. And they were really excited about that they could work on the weekends. They could work over spring break. They could work over summer break, that they could still do the job. And that was one of the things that really made me excited. I'll tell you, after a full day of interviews, you kind of get worn out, because just that's a lot of meetings. I was actually energized. I was actually really excited at the end of the day because there was so much good energy coming from the students. They were really excited about it.
Well, it's good to hear because I do feel like we are in a new time where it's hard to find motivated young people. Like I'm in the process of trying to even find another, admin person.
Mhm.
It's not quite as, prestigious as a cybersecurity position, but it's impossible. I mean, it's just the candidates out there. They're not the same candidates. And
Yep.
2 years ago, when I would put an ad out for that, I'd get 200, 300. It was just daunting. Now,
Right.
I'm maybe getting 20, and
Yep.
none of them really qualify for what I'm looking for. So so you're not seeing anything in that nature? Is that why
So
you don't have operation put in place already? Because are you're short staffed? Is that why?
yeah, we're short staffed. I mean, we don't have a lot of people and we don't have a lot of resources.
Hmm.
But you're absolutely right. Now, I do have the benefit on my side is I've got a feed coming in from the cybersecurity program here at the university. The faculty members, they want their students to have that hands-on experience. I was talking to somebody once, and we had students who they learned a tool called Nmap or Network Mapper, and they knew how to use it. And I was like, great, come on in. Let's use it on the network. And I turned over a whole segment of our network. Like, okay, run a basic scan, and they ran it, and it took days to run. The way they did it. It gives you a different experience when you have a full blown network and a full enterprise level network to really do this stuff. So we have a lot of students that are coming in that are coming directly from this program. They're already learning some of this stuff. They're already excited about some of this stuff because they're seeing it in their classes. But what I give them is the ability to use it on a production network and an enterprise network. So they're really excited about that part because I'll tell you, most people, when they learn a new skill set, they want to try it. They want to play with it. They want to see if they can really do it. And this gives them an opportunity. So the faculty members, they understand the benefit of doing something like this, and they're feeding me these students. I mean, they're telling their classes, hey, Jonathan over there in IT, he's looking for some strong people. And I was getting resumes directly from the faculty members, like, hey, you need to talk to this person. Make sure these people apply. Let me. So I am fortunate in that because I've got a lot of great support from our faculty members, a lot of great support from our leadership of being able to provide these. But I absolutely understand, the need for getting the young people into doing this and how difficult that can be. Um, I'll tell you what people are finding out now, at least here in Oklahoma. What I'm seeing from people is there's a lot of people that will want to work in cybersecurity, but they don't have the background in it yet. And that was the other piece I kind of wanted to do is I wanted to be able to take people, give them exposure to some skill sets, whether it be a tool or whether it be a concept, incident response as a concept or compliance as a concept, and then let them explore that, where I can watch them and I can help them, I can help guide them. So can my two security analysts that work for me, which they're great. But give those people an opportunity to learn and grow. That mentorship thing, that we don't see it anymore as much, and maybe it's because those people aren't looking for it. The applicants aren't looking for that mentorship. I can tell you, I had one applicant, this was a couple of years ago, who they wanted to get into IT, and they weren't in IT at the time, but they wanted to get into it. But they were wanting, that high range of salary. They want, because IT is, generally a good industry to get into for salary and such. But because they had never been in it, they couldn't get a job. And I told them, I was like, here's the deal. Here's my advice to you is go find you a help desk job. Go do that for a year. Get some experience under your belt. I mean, you've got some great experience in life, but you really need to get that IT experience and just kind of grow. And I think that as more of these programs come in, something like I would love personally to be able to open this up to bring in high school students in the summer. If I could get some high school students to come in and work for me along with my regular security analysts and my regular staff members, that they can start to learn and grow. And then when they come into college, they even have that much more experience in some of this stuff. So that's kind of my hope is, I know it's going to be different than what my plans are, and things change, but that's really my hope is I wanted to grow into that mentorship opportunity. And if we can get people more excited about that, and they tell their friends like, hey, come on, let's go to this weekend pen testing thing that they're doing at the university or whatever it may be. It gets them excited, and it gets them in an environment that they can learn and they can grow in their skill sets to really maybe guide them down a new career path or a career path. For a lot of these students, they don't have them yet. They don't know what they want to do. So given an opportunity to think about what they want to do, that's one of the reasons I want to get these mentors in, these law firms and the law enforcement in, and that way they can get exposure to it. It's like, oh yeah, this is what it's like to be an FBI agent in the cyber crimes unit. This is what it's like to be in a law firm who does IT security and privacy compliance. If they can see that, then maybe their classes will mean something different to them. They'll go, oh, that's why that stuff is important. So that's kind of my goal. I know it's reaching for the stars in some cases, but it's something I want to do.
I think it's awesome. I think it's great. It's going to be great for you to see as they graduate out and where they are. And what a great, just what great job satisfaction could you ever want than to just see you help someone launch into their career. We at our events, a lot of times we get students that will sign up, and we are, although we're educational, we're still they're sponsored events. And so the sponsors don't really want a bunch of students at our events. But what we do is we ask them, we say, well, why don't you come volunteer at the registration desk? We just need you in the morning for your help. Go sit into sessions, go talk to the sponsors. They have a FutureCon name badge on. And it's so great for them because they get to talk to people on both sides. So anyone, any city that we're at, and we always encourage students to reach out to us because it's such a great day for them because they get to go meet people and they're represented by FutureCon. So we send them out to go do things, go and ask the sponsors these questions, what are they, just silly things like give them information about lunch or their prizes, but then that gets them out of their shell of if they are introverted to talking, to the sponsors. And I'm always like, go sit into the sessions, and they end up talking to other attendees. So it's just great to see the students out there that do want to flourish into the industry and, helping them a bit. We've had tons of students that have worked for us. I have no idea where they are now, but it would be nice to hear where they are now. But, I think that's really awesome. So do you have you been seeing it all? What about the student that is driven, but maybe they're not going to be able to pass some of the classes that are required for a cybersecurity degree? Have you ran into anything like that where they have the motivation, the drive, and what's your advice to them?
I have, and actually, it kind of leads me to a story. I had a student, this was years ago now, but she came in, and she came in to apply to the help desk, and she says, "Listen, I'm getting a degree in piano. I know I'm never going to make money at piano, so I really need a job. I need a way to have a job that I can make a paycheck and still do the things that I love." And she turned out to be one of my very best technicians. She worked hard. She learned. She was great with the users. She interacted really well, and she is now a third level engineer at a tech company. I looked her up not too long ago just to kind of just see where she was at and see how she was doing, and she's doing great. So the answer is yes. And what I tell people is, if you have the IT security industry, there are so many aspects to it. When I think about what I do in a day, it goes from the very far technical to the very far strategic, and I've got to do that every day. It's a lot of the CISOs have to do that. Very rarely will you find a CISO that can only be strategic. That's all they are, or a CISO that can only be technical. So there's so many things you can do. The benefits of the IT security industry is we need to have people that there's one student that I'm hiring very specifically to help me do PCI compliance. This person is not a technical person, but she is doing great at some of the accounting stuff that she needs to do, and she wants to do auditing. And there's a huge piece of that we need in the IT security realm of getting people who know that auditing to know more about IT security and working very closely. In fact, I've got a lot of friends who are auditors, and we do some joint events with the auditing community, ISSA, and a couple of other groups here in Oklahoma with the ISSA. I want to build those relationships. So she's coming in as one of the student SOC or a student analyst, but she is going to help me to do my PCI compliance for the semester. I'm going to give her a list of all the things that I need done, and she's going to work with the users, work with the departments to check their documentation, help build documentation, verify all the inventory, go through the PCI DSS and make sure we're hitting all the pieces we need for RSAQ, all these different things. And, it's not a regular SOC analyst position. She's not going to be threat hunting. She's not going to be. Now, I'm going to train her on all that. All the students are going to get the same training because I want her exposed to it. But her background is a little different, and the resources the skill sets that she has to provide back to the team are going to be unique, but they're going to be just as important. So, when we have people who maybe they're not good. I am never going to be a pen tester. I like pen testing. I'm working on my different. I've got various certifications in it so far. I'm working on the OSCP right now, trying to get it. But I know that I will never be a full-time pen tester. That's just not my calling. But it doesn't mean I don't need to know how to do it. So when we have these students that come in, I want to be exposed to it. But I really want them to bring in the skill sets and those strengths that they have to help the IT security industry grow. And maybe they're not as technical, but we've got a lot of compliance, we've got a lot of management, we've got a lot of security awareness to help people on. So I honestly, I can't imagine anybody who wants to get into cybersecurity, regardless of their level of skill set, their technical skill set. We have a place for them. We have jobs that are not that technical, but are critically important for the industry. So I'm really excited of bringing in every student, that I can afford. I can only have so many students, but I'm really excited to bring in those students that they're excited. They really want to do it, and they're willing to learn, and maybe they're really good at this strategic piece, or this planning piece, or this management piece. We need those as well. So I think that it's going to be a huge benefit to us, regardless of their skill set. If they're willing to learn and willing to grow, my philosophy is I'm willing to teach them. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, I agree with Leah. She said, absolutely love how you're working with students to enable them for the workplace now while they're in school. I think that it's just so amazing. I would love to see you get so huge and network with all these other universities. It's just such a great, platform and a great, model for all the future cybersecurity students out there. I would love backstage, and she won't come on, but Megan, who does all my technical stuff that you've met, she's a cybersecurity student. And I'd love to know, if she saw things like that when she was going to school, and she went to Loyola out of Chicago. But it's yeah, that's really great what you're doing. And so here's another question for you. And I've asked some past guests this, especially I've had guests like you that are really helping build up our future. What is your opinion, being that you work at a university, between some of these boot camps and university degree or college degree?
So I work at the university, so I have to kind of be careful on my answers there.
Sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot.
No. This actually comes up a lot, and I'll tell you this: I love boot camps. I do a lot of them. Boot camps have a very particular purpose. It allows someone who needs to brush up on a skill set, or maybe learn a new skill set, and they've only got a certain amount of time to do it. But it also allows you to focus on that one thing for that boot camp. I have a requirement for all of my staff, for my full-time staff, that they have to do a SANS once a year. Now, most people, they get to do a SANS once a year. I require my people to do it once a year, because I want them to expose that information, and they get to go, and they get to spend a week, 5 to 6 days, just absorbing all that information. Now, they're not going to retain it all. That's not the point. I want them to be exposed to it. I want them to get as much as they can. Then I want them to come back and start showing me how that's going to improve our network and improve that our organization. So I'm a huge supporter. Now, there's always this idea of um, certifications and training versus experience. And I don't get into that argument anymore because I think it's a faulty argument. I think if someone doesn't get training but they're really good, they're really good. If someone gets training and they're really good, they're really good. It doesn't matter. If you have a lot of certifications, and I've got a lot of them, I like getting certifications. If I have a lot of certifications, that doesn't mean I'm bad at my job, doesn't mean I'm great at my job. It means that I've got my certifications. The things that I do make me great at my job. And I think training is kind of like that. So if you're the type of person that you really want to have that regular academic experience where you're going to a class once or twice a week for a full semester and you really get that information reinforced in your head by doing the coursework, great. That's absolutely wonderful. If you're the type of person that you want to, that's your vacation is to go sands, great. That's great. I I don't like the two different arguments because it seems like people want one or the other, or they say that one is bad and one is good in either direction. I don't think that's true. I think that we have students going through the cybersecurity program at the University of Tulsa. It's going to be great for them. They're going to get a lot of skill sets, and they're going to come out and they're going to go into the workforce. And I hope they continue learning. I hope that they do go do SANS or they go do a master's program or they go do a JD program. I want them to continue learning. We just hired a new CTO, and we were talking about this a couple of days ago, talking about training. And what it is when you have someone that can do a Google search, they know how to find a particular solution to a particular problem because they could do that Google search. But when you go to training, you get to learn the potential things that you can do. You get to learn that much broader skill set from these other things that you learn in training of what's possible. There's a lot of value in that. And I think that if you are the type of person who likes to do boot camps, great, go do them. Yeah, they're expensive, and yeah, it takes time away from family, but you really get to focus on that one topic for that week long time. If you're the type of person that wants to do a full academic experience where you're going for a full semester, great, go do it. The people that I kind of roll my eyes at sometimes is people who don't want to do training at all. They don't want to learn anything new. They're happy where they're at. They don't care about anything else. And those are things, if you're not staying up with training in the IT security realm and the cybersecurity industry, then you're really falling behind. That's one of the reasons why I require training of my staff. And I do require certifications. I require them to, if they go do training, that they take the test along with it to show that they've done it. I have been in many classes where we see people come in for the first day and they don't come back after that. So they attended training, but that was it. They were just kind of there. So I'm supportive, extremely supportive of people doing training. If they want to do it at a university, at a community college, at a tech school, they want to do it at a SANS, or if they here's an example. I just did training to get my private investigator's license, and I did it at a tech college here. It's a great experience. The instructor was great. I had a good time. We did it for 2 weeks, at night, and I learned from that. And that's really what it's about, is learning new things. So I think they're both great, depending on the person, and that's the most important part, is just to keep people learning new things.
I think it's just different for every person and every situation. I have a nephew that, he had kids, younger and, couldn't really find his way. And, college wasn't for him. And now
Yep.
he's a coder, and he, his parents did help him find the right boot camp, because
Yep.
you have to find the right one. And he's
Yep.
doing really very, very, very well in life right
Yeah.
now, making very good money. and his situation would not, be that for everyone. It's kind of like when I went in the military when I was 18. I ended up in Hawaii. I got to live off base. I mean, it was the ideal situation. Would somebody else go in the military and have that same situation? No, it was
Right.
just, so I think it's just, different.
Yeah.
Some young people want to go have the university life, and
Sure.
that's amazing. And some people need a quicker fix.
Yep.
And does it work out for everyone? Maybe not, but some do. So,
Right.
going back to, I was talking about Megan, who works for me. I'm glad she put a little comment out here that she was saying that sounds awesome. She would have loved to be involved in what you're doing while she was in school. There wasn't anything out there like that. So I think that's so great what you're doing and how you're being a mentor and a role model for these students. I imagine there's probably more students that want to do this than opportunities that are open. That's kind of sad, huh?
Yeah, it is. But you know what? I think with a lot of the programs that are happening out there, Will McCullen is doing a great thing out at his stuff, and I think that it's changing. I think people are learning, are figuring out what they can do and what they can't do, what they can do, what they should do. So I think it's going to change. I think the industry is changing. I think, as we talk about this, we have this gap of cybersecurity professionals. We got to fill that gap. I think that the gap is actually twofold, and we'll talk about some other conversation. But I think if we have an opportunity to bring in students and teach them and grow them, and when I say students, I'm not just talking about that traditional 18, 19, year old student coming into college for the first time. I'm talking about non-traditional students. I'm talking about people who want to change careers. I'm talking about anybody who wants to get into the cybersecurity industry. I think that with a program like I'm trying to create, but there's a lot of other programs out there that I think are just as great in terms of content and skill sets that you learn. I think it'll change. I think it'll grow. I intend to if I can be successful at this, and maybe get some more sleep, but I would love to be able to present out to EduCause, which is one of the big things for higher education, about building this sort of thing. And it's not just about having students at a SOC, it's about having students actually run your SOC, be those resources and provide those deliverables back to the organization. I think it'll be really important, and I think it will drive people to those programs, not just, you know, purely academic programs, but if people got some real experience, it think of it like this: it's just that old fashioned apprenticeship. Let's go and learn from the people doing it, and then turn around and become the people doing it, and then turn around and teach new people how to do it. I think that's really what we need to do in a lot of our industries.
We're down to about 3 minutes before close, but Megan made a good point as she said that her class was the first class that offered a cybersecurity degree. So it is interesting that how long has the University of Tulsa been offering that degree?
Well, so the undergrad cybersecurity program is brand new. I mean, it's less than a year old now. We've had CyberCore and we've had some master's programs for many years now, but this is the first year of a true undergrad cybersecurity program. So we're building it they are building it from scratch. I'm helping where I can in providing the resources for our SOC, but our faculty members are really putting a lot of effort into building those classes. It's going to be useful to students to learn these skill sets.
Well, Jonathan, I'm really excited that you're going to be coming and helping me with some of the shows in the future. And I think that this is you're such a great role model. And maybe you even being on the show more and more and talking about what you're doing will inspire some of the other leaders at the universities too, because this is what we need. There's such a huge job shortage. What would your message be to all those out there that want to be like Jonathan Kimmitt? What message would you want to leave with us today?
Oh, get involved. Absolutely get involved. Go to your local ISSA. Go to your InfraGard. Go to your ISACA. Go to your IA. Go to all of these professional organizations. Go support your local conferences. The thing about it is, you're kind of with the apprenticeship. First, you go to learn. Then you go to really absorb and learn new things. Then you go to speak, and then you go to teach. And And that's what I've seen happen a lot, where people got involved and they became the people that were going to these conferences with me when I first started. They're also now the speakers with me. We're on panels together. We'll call each other like, hey, I'm doing a CISO panel. You want to do it? So get involved, go out there and take part, get involved in your I'm going to support ISSA because I'm the president of ISSA here in Oklahoma. And go talk with people, go engage, go network, and go share knowledge. That's really the big thing. Is we can, if we want to get better in cybersecurity, we just all have to work together. We all have to share our knowledge, because I may be good at one thing, but I need help on another. And if I can find that person to be that yin yang, then it'll be perfect. It'll be a great opportunity to combine our skill sets for that common good of protecting people.
All right, Jonathan Kimmitt, CISO at the University of Tulsa. Thanks for being with us today. He is going to be back talking to you all again as my co-host in a few weeks. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. That was the fastest show again that we've had. I wish I would have had more time to talk with Jonathan. Please join us next week. We have Tina Piccioni. Been trying to get her on forever. She's another great guest. You guys stay safe, stay warm if you're in the Midwest, and stay secure. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.